So moving forward, presenting myself. You have my contacts here. I'll show you in the end as well. As Rui said, I'm the COO at Landing Jobs. I co-founded this company. In the beginning, it was me just by myself, and then later my co-founder joined. We have a special characteristic. The founding team is that we have 19 years of gap between us. So I'm 31, he's 50. 19 years is the definition of a generation. So there's a generation gap between us. It's very interesting to see how these things play together. And actually, my co-founder is writing a book on generational gap. And I think when you get to 50s, you feel the urge to do this sort of thing. And it's interesting because he's using Landing Jobs as the case study. Okay, so regarding myself, so I'm born and raised in Lisbon. I've lived in London for almost 3 years. I came back to Lisbon post-Brexit. I'm one of the few that had the pleasure of being in London when the Brexit happened. I was there. I watched it unfold, and the sadness covered the city because London is pro-European Union. I came back to Lisbon late last year. I've also lived in the Netherlands before. My background is essentially computer science, also with a pinch of management. And I hope that I can share some stories with you, and we can at least show you how we can get the most out of your communities. Just before we start, I know more or less how the audience is. Can I have like a quick show of hands for the founders in the room? Okay, and a quick show of hands for all the others that are not into marketing or business. So everybody is either a founder or into marketing or business. Okay, so I got this right. Cool. So I hope that at the end of the talk, you can take something with you, especially the founders. You can learn from my mistakes. You can learn from our plans as well, because I'm going to share some things that we're going to do in the future. For the ones in marketing and business, I think it's obvious. I mean, guys, just drink this stuff, okay? So let's move forward with actually, let me explain you the talk structure. I'm gonna tell you what Landing Jobs is, some of the events we do. I include webinars as a format of event, and then I'll give you some theory but not boring, and then practical stuff about Landing Jobs. Okay. So Landing Jobs, as we said, so we matchmake two. So we are a marketplace. We matchmake two sides: supply technical talent, demand companies that want to hire them, and we have to make this work somehow. We can see like similar models. Booking.com is a very similar model, but instead of talent, we have hotels or whatnot. Airbnb, same thing, but with apartments. We try to fit them with the right jobs, and we leverage artificial intelligence to help us do the matching between these two sides. We are currently operating in Europe, mostly in Portugal, Spain, Germany. I'll talk a bit about Germany later on, and the UK. And our vision is essentially to become a tool provider for tech pros to better manage their careers. I mean, this can go from salary calculators, this can be market insights on your skills, this can be coaching sessions, this can be CV reviews. A simple thing as a CV review will help professionals improve their careers. And of course, the job search, which is our core business. But this is our vision. We want to be one day the place where when people want to think about their careers, whether it's short term to change the jobs, whether it's long term to, kind of get a direction going, we want to be the place. Or we want to be the ones creating the tools help do that. Our mission, and I always struggle with this slide, the mission, because when I pitch to investors, the mission is completely different. The mission is to become the best tech recruitment marketplace in Europe. Now, the best can be argued, so I prefer to put this one, which is a lot more inspirational. And in the end, all the things that we do at landing jobs, all the way that we constructed our product, our business model, our team, in the end, the mission is this. All the people, when like you ask my team, they are onto this. I mean, we change lives every day, and we try to do it in the best way possible. I can tell, like in terms of competition, our biggest competition is players like LinkedIn, but tech professionals get spammed on LinkedIn like 20 times a day, if not more. Anyone here is a developer? And how many contacts you get per day or per week?
In my case, I'm almost a retired developer.
So you still get
because
okay.
I'm not searching for jobs.
But they send
My
it
profile.
anyway.
No.
What about you?
Since I became a founder, way less.
Well, less. Before that?
Like 5 per week. Something.
5 per week. Okay, cool. So it's mostly a spam engine. Like I can tell you from my community of talent, most of them, they don't even log in on LinkedIn, only when they're really looking for a job. Otherwise, it's pointless. The other competitor is obvious recruitment agencies. So the old players, the incumbent players, the industry. I mean, if we have Revolut as bank, the new banking system, or blockchain, these guys will be the banks, you know, the old school guys. So moving forward, just a quick show for who doesn't know who hasn't been on the site of landing jobs. Raise your arm, please. Alright, so this is for you. Once I'll go quickly because most of you did. As I said in the beginning, we're still far away from our vision. If you go here, I mean, find the job that fits you, and it's essentially a job search engine. You log in, you drop your information. This is the only way we can better improve our matching system. Without information, we're dead in the water. This is our, it seems complicated, but it's not really. It's the search engine. If people want to apply organically to jobs, so they can filter through the jobs, they can subscribe to searches. I mean, if you are a Ruby developer, you want to just know what the Ruby opportunities are in the market, just subscribe, you get an email. I gotta be honest with you, my infrastructure billing at the end of the month is really low because my platform exists, but we communicate with our users, the talent users, through email. Most of these things are done through email. They come to the platform, they use it, then they go home, they do whatever they want. When they need to come back, we communicate with them with email. That's why my infrastructure billing is super low. I can tell you less than $200 per month. We also have like a personal area where people can they can check their current applications. You have a spot. Does this have a pointer? Yes. This part here, the social. It's very related to community. You can do referrals. Actually, the business started as a referral engine, and you can invite friends, all these things. You can check your subscriptions, whether it's searches, jobs. You can subscribe to jobs and companies as well. And we have this thing called Market Insights, which is basically based on our data. We can give you like what your salary ranges are, so or should be, and also the skills that you need to learn next. So this is pretty useful for any professional that is thinking about the next step in their career, or you know, a bit further ahead as well. We have this by city as well. Depending on the data that we have, we include more cities in the market insights. We also have this new product. We call it Candidate Search. Essentially, it's turning the business the other way around. So it's companies applying to talent. So you can either do it organically, or companies will apply to you, but in a completely anonymous way. So basically, this guy, Carlos S. with the monster well, with the person actually, and the company can request a handshake with that person. If the person says, you can do three things: ignore, reject, or accept. And if they accept, conversation starts, and then it can lead to a hire. Depends on the type of company, depends on the type of talent, but it's a really interesting way, especially for more passive talent, and people who don't really, because developers sometimes are very introverts, like going out there and doing the job search, application letter, these sort of things, can be a bit not a fit with their personality. So this is a good way to get communication working both ways. Again, completely anonymous for the talent side. Besides the product, we do several events relating to landing jobs. This is an offline event we do. It's called Landing Breakfast with hiring managers, recruiting managers as well. Basically, we get together and discuss a topic. It can be the new law, the new directive by the EU, the GDPR. It can be hiring funnels. It can be metrics. It can be several different things, culture as well. And this works really well to nurture community offline in this case. We also do online. So this is a set of webinars where we talk mostly for talent, but sometimes we have recruiters joining in as well. I mean, hot topic in tech, remote work. Not only in tech, I know, but especially in tech. If you read the reports from Stack Overflow, which is kind of a huge community in tech, I mean, 80 or 90% of developers want some form of remote work. It can be staying at home a few days a week. It can be working fully remote. So this is a very hot topic. And we brought, in this case, we brought someone. We had the webinar. I think it was at noon, and we had someone from Australia joining in at 1 a.m. in Australia, and a bit of stretch, Malta and London. So it was a remote meetup, which makes sense because we were talking about remote. And then we just cover very different topics. It's just interesting because compared to this one, which is offline, I mean, you do it there, you create that human engagement there, it's pretty cool. I mean, you're breathing the same air and shaking hands, all that. But this one just stays, it's content, it's there. I mean, you can watch it later. So it's pretty cool, has this advantage. This is YouTube Live, by the way, so it's pretty cool too for that. This is not really an event per se, but it's also a form of content that we create called Landing Talk. So we did this. I mean, these two were 1 year ago. It was some tests that we did on both. I can tell you we didn't move forward with this form, but we're thinking about going back to video again. So it's not really live. It's not really an event. But it's still content that, in this case, it was the diary of remote workers. Again, because it's a hot topic for our talent community. And the last one was remote work from a company perspective as well. So both topics on a really hot topic. And then we have our flagship event called Landing Festival. This started as a fun and games. To be honest, I mean, it started in 2016 when we rebranded from Jobbox to Landing Jobs. And we were like, okay, let's tell this to the market. Let's move forward and tell to the market we have this new brand, Landing Jobs. So we created Landing Festival in 2015. It was just a party. I mean, there were some talks, there was a boat, there was some stuff going on, and in the end it was like huge. I mean, 700 people show up. After hours event in Lisbon, and then we got like next day we have like we sent out the feedback forms, and everyone is like, okay, NPS score 9 or 10 out of 10, and okay, we have to do this again. This is the thing. It's an offline moment, and from there it evolved into what it is today, which is an event about the future of tech careers, but it's for two types of personas, really. So one is the persona that is doing the job search, like the ones that go on Landing Jobs, so they can go to the event and land a job. or the other persona, which is, and I have to be honest with you, like, it's not that many in tech, which is the person that thinks about careers. I mean, people in tech, the big piece of the pie, they don't care about the career because they have so many offers today that it just doesn't make much sense. It makes sense, but I understand why it doesn't make sense for the majority of tech professionals. Still, I would say there's like 20-80%, so 20% of them think about career long term and really care about learning more about that. The other 80%, it's more about tech and the future, and if they're looking for a job, landing a job. So it evolved into this. It's our flagship event, as I said. Next one is going to be 29 and 30 of June in Lisbon. And we did last week our first one out of Portugal in Berlin, 2 days, over 1,000 people, 40 companies, over 60 partners. And it's a way, I'll show you some pictures, but it's a way, this is me opening the event and basically telling everyone why they work there. I mean, as I explained, these two segments. And I mean, we have an expo stage with horses and unicorns and stuff, where like every company is out there for themselves. Competition is going the other way. Companies have to fight for talent, not the other way. I mean, everybody that goes there, they're in play, they're good. They may be on to finding something better. So we're talking about companies like SoundCloud, that are, you know, pretty well known in the market, and I mean they're hiring a bunch of people, and organically, and I didn't send out any PR for Portuguese journalists because I mean we're doing this in Germany. Why the hell would I invite Portuguese journalists? So they just reached out and said, can we go to see what's happening out there? And this is like organic effects from doing a massive event like this. I wouldn't get TSF interviewing me and a couple of other attendees because of a webinar. Most likely, maybe it can happen in the future. But with this event, it happens in Berlin. They go there to meet me. We also have technology again to bring people in because we know that's what our community likes. This is technology by one of the sponsors of the event that was also hiring people, so it's a way for them to attract people. We have workshops for those 20% that want to improve their careers, workshops, panels, expert sessions, and it's interesting here. This is Patrick Kua, the CTO of N26, which is I have my card there. It's a new backing system. I'm not sure who knows this, but it's pretty cool. You can have like a German account with an app. It's super easy to build. And actually, it's funny because the company of N26, they paid us to bring this guy. This guy is an amazing speaker. So they paid for this guy to be there because they know they need to bring the CTO to attract talent. Because that's the way it works. Companies go after talent in tech, not the other way around. It's not only in tech that this happens. We were talking before this event that in marketing and business, there's also, because I mean, there's not many people in the market, and it's the new way of doing marketing and business that we are learning during this week. There's not many people in the market that know how to do this. I just don't want to feel cocky. It's all about tech. It's not all about tech. There's other professions that are really good. This is, I mean, you have to put a pinch of fun on this, otherwise it's just boring. Talking about careers for 2 days and tech and future. So we had this guy's iPad magician. It's really cool. And of course our featured trademark both parties where everybody goes nuts and lots of alcohol as well. It's a community moment in the end. This is where you get super loyal. You don't get loyalty, you get super loyalty from these people. These guys are going to be NPS 10 promoters of the brand of landing jobs. And I mean, before, like this is mostly like landing jobs and the events we've done and our flagship event, Landing Festival. I mean, as you see, some of these events were offline, some others were online. I got to be honest with you, we've been asked several times, why don't you just drop the online platform and just do events? Like the festival. I've been asked that several times, and my answer is obvious. I mean, I'm a product guy. That's why I love the product. This thing is a byproduct of landing jobs. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
And
You don't tell like Red Bull to stop selling drinks.
exactly. But they do sponsor a lot of events.
Yeah.
They sponsor football teams.
Yeah, they bought football teams.
They
actually.
bought, so they okay, maybe one day we'll buy FC Porto. Not sure how that would work, but anyway. Okay, before we move forward, I felt that because we're talking about how to get the most out of a community, we needed some sort of definition for community, what this means. And in our case, it's essentially people that have an interest, whether it's I need to search for a job, whether it's I think about careers, my career is specific, and that's in common between them and with what we're doing and our vision. So we have this thing in common. I wouldn't say it's belief, like when you love a football club or when you believe in God or something else. I wouldn't say this is it for our community, but definitely interest. And maybe people that feel engaged with our brand, something like that. And then we have some sort of governance system, or our communities need to have some sort of governance system. So, for instance, a community that has a governance system, for instance, FC Porto, Super Dragões. They have a forum where they discuss their activities. Do you know Super Dragões?
Of course.
The guys, anyway. Okay, so they have some sort of governance system where they communicate with their community. They collaborate, and then they I'm not a fan of Porto, by the way, but trying to. But just so but I like competition, which is good. So because sporting is not competition, let's be honest. You need some way to communicate with the community, and this can be a Slack channel. It can be super tight. It can be a newsletter. It can be super tight, or it can be super loose. And this is interesting. For instance, the crypto community. So who has crypto? Who bought crypto already? Okay, cool. So the crypto community, you have several communities within the crypto. You have the Bitcoin, you have the Ethereum, and within the Ethereum you have several communities as well. So this is just to say, like, even Super Dragões, they're part of a bigger community of ad support. So just to be aware, in our situation in landing jobs, the landing festival, if it becomes autonomous on its own, that community can be part of landing jobs community. Communities can also be managed, and most of them are in some form managed, whether it's like, for instance, founders community is managed. I mean, you have a management team that manages your community. Right?
Yeah. Actually, we have a community manager.
You have a community manager.
Who's
So
Leia?
Leia is working in this community, and this event, boom, is part of that. I mean, you're clearly creating this event to nurture your community. Well, I'll get to nurturing in a bit. Communities can also die or fade away. It happens all the time. I mean, religion, the Nordics religion, I don't remember the name, but the Vikings, they had their own religion, and it died for some time. I think it came back, but they only had like 200 followers. But it had a timeline. It went down. I mean, with Catholics and others taking over, it just went down. They ceased to have a community. So we need to keep this in our mind. I mean, companies, even if they create a community, if the company fails, there goes the community. OutSystems is a Portuguese tech company. They have a community going on its own already, which is really interesting. Google, Apple, all of these guys, they have fanboys or girls that do things on their own. There's Apple forums that are not controlled by Apple. And this is really interesting. But if Apple goes down, their whole community goes down. So, To give a couple of examples, one is religion. So the purpose of religions, whether it's it doesn't matter the religion, it's to have more faith followers. Bigger they are, I mean, I have never met a religion or heard of a religion who doesn't want to have more followers. It's always the purpose. The more you have, the better it is. They want to achieve loyalty in the end. They do this through word of mouth, and in case of religions, family ties, friend ties. You know, it's very strong. I mean, you're born into a Catholic ecosystem. Probably you're going to be Catholic or Muslim, whatever. I'll give you a couple of examples now with content. Catholic religion has a Bible, which is the core content of the religion, and they have these moments where they celebrate parts of the content, or where they use the content to celebrate and to create, to nurture their community. So it can be daily prayers when they go to church every day. It can be the Easter. It can be Pope tours. I said tours because I don't know the thing, but the car is fancy at least. And they have special belief places like Fatima and other locations. To be a little bit less religious, let's move to something more technical. Secular flow. I mean, if you are a developer, and for those of you who don't know, like when you have a bug in the product you're developing or something, you go on Google, put the bug there, the description of the bug, and the first thing that comes up is Stack Overflow, which is a developers community, probably the biggest, if not, I think it's the biggest developer community online developer community. And because they help developers, you know, fix their problems, they become a reference. In terms of SEO, they're there. That's how they acquire new community members. SEO, pretty much word of mouth. I mean, if a developer doesn't know Stack Overflow, don't hire that developer. In terms of brand loyalty, they do some very interesting. Besides the word of mouth and the SEO that drives conversion, they also do something very interesting, which is they have a scoring mechanism, a rating mechanism. So within the community, you have, and you can adapt this to the religion as well. You have the Pope, you have sacerdotes, I don't know the name, and then priests. But you have all these layers. In Stack Overflow, they all have all these layers as well. And the more answers, the more you give to the community, whether it's replies or create answers or all these things that people do it for free, the more points you get and the more reputation you have in the Stack Overflow. And this reputation can mean doing more things on the product and having more permissions than other people. I mean, back in the day before Facebook, we had the MIRC or IRC. And basically there was some sort, you had admins and then you had voice, and then you have all the rest, which is a form of community rating as well. It's pretty much the same thing if you think about it. And Stack Overflow is very interesting developed. So in religion we had the Bible, which is a very strong piece of content. And the year, like they release this developer service every year based on so they surveyed their user rate. And this year was 100,000 replies, which is pretty good for you know, it's probably the best survey on developers out there. And they released this, and the things that happen, I mean, they go through the effort of promoting it through their channels, but also, I mean, doing events and these sort of things. But to be honest, I mean, the community itself, the community of Stack Overflow, just takes the surveys. And other communities as well, they just take it and analyze it, and articles come out on Business Insider. This piece of content just generates shitloads of things for the community, so it feeds into the community, further placing them as a reference point for developers to go, and strengthening their brand and nurturing their community. Again, the Bible as a content kind of feeds into all their activities that Catholics do. And here, this piece of content feeds in to all of the activities that these people do. I'm not saying that the surveys are compared to the writing. They're not. Forget it. But I mean, if you think about it, it's more or less the same thing. And then, to tell to say this phrase, I have to go back to yesterday at, I think it was 7:30 p.m. We were having a strategy meeting with my team from 5 to 11 p.m. So I'm a bit tired today because it was intense. The meeting, not because 11 p.m. it's fine, but it was super intense. And we did kind of a vertical strategy meeting. So we brought like a junior developer, we had the founders, we had leads and heads. So it was across the team, and this was the junior developer that said, and I told him I was going to steal, which is basically, I mean, what these companies are doing is they're generating global community content, and then they apply on tailored interventions, whether it's meetups, online or offline, and all the organicality that comes to it, and they feed in this content, this global content, whether it's surveys every year, whether it's case studies like you guys on InfraSpeak do, you feed this in micro interventions, in tailored interventions, and then we go to this question: conversion versus nature. And I gotta ask you, like, who thinks from the audience, who thinks that, you know, creating these events, having all this event structure, this event strategy, this content strategy, I mean, because events, if you think about it, are content. I mean, this content strategy, what does it impact more, conversion or nurture? What do you think? Okay, I said nurture 2 times before, so I kind of gave you a hint there. But yes, in my opinion, it goes like this. I cannot say it doesn't convert, that would be stupid for me. But I think about, like, you have the chicken and egg problem, and I saw some tweets 1 month ago that said, chicken and egg problem, the egg came before actually, because based on the evolution of the animals, I mean, the egg had to come before. But in my opinion, I think that thinking that you have a community already, you need to nurture it first, and then conversion will come. It can be, and this could be a very healthy discussion that, I mean, for instance, in crypto, it's kind of like a blast. I mean, it's growing as fuck, so pardon my language. The amount of people that are joining and are converting, I mean, there's not much nurturing going on. But still, I think that the white papers that people create for crypto, all of these events that are for crypto. I mean, I was in Berlin, there was a crypto event for 200 people. This is nurturing the community. They're doing it without thinking about it. This community is doing it without thinking because they are, you know, they have belief. They believe that crypto is going to change the banking industry. And so they do it on naturally. I mean, they're nurturing the thing and they don't even know. It's coming from the basis. What happens with companies and organizations is usually the nurturing, for instance, with founders, the nurturing is planned from top. In Stack Overflow, the nurturing is planned from top, expecting that the community itself will boom. Obviously, when people come to Boom Week, they will say good things about founders after. It's natural. I mean, you're increasing your NPS. That's what you're doing. I mean, I don't want to be, you know, put it in, because I'm not a very analytical person, but that's what they're doing. And so, I believe that events, and I put webinars there because it was the title, but webinar is the form of events. You know, they are indeed nurture. I believe you can also use it for pure conversion as well. Especially, I mean, if you see my automatize see me automatize the lead acquisition, I mean the business acquisition part. I mean, you can do some interesting webinars, even outsourced webinars. That would be interesting, but it can be a form of acquisition. But anyway, I believe they are a form of nurture. And maybe this is a personal belief of mine, because I was always like this. Throughout my life, whenever I crossed, whether it was professional or after work, I always joined communities and was part of them. And I just believe that nurturing is the way to go, and that they will bring conversion. Now, as I said, I'm not a super analytical guy. I like data. I always tell my team, guys, bring me data, because by nature I will not go after. I go after data, but some people in my team go after data more than I do, and that's the way I want it. And sometimes this sounds like it's highly intangible, how to manage events and such. But I think you can measure and use some things that you can use to measure events, and we use for all our events. But then you can argue, okay, Pedro, you're measuring attendees, interactions. Interactions can be, for instance, on a YouTube live video, it can be the number of comments that you had during the session. It can be during our Landing Festival event, we use a partner called Binion, that people go there and swipe their ID, and immediately in our platform it creates a handshake. So we connect our events with the platform as well. It can be that. So these things are all measurable to a certain point. But other things, like, do you think that Stack Overflow, when they release the developer surveys, of course they're going to measure the impact that it has, but I mean, they know that it's going to be kind of viral and organic to a point. And you have to live with this too. The more, and this depends on your tracking, the more track aware or track centric you are, the more you can measure growth. And I think that growth can be driven by events. And looking at landing jobs history, we've done quite a lot of events in all over Europe, and some bigger, some less, some smaller. So now is the part where I go into the what we've been doing and what we're gonna do and what we're doing as well. So before like we started doing events and these sort of things, we had, I mean, because we are a marketplace, we deal with demand companies and supply talent. We had to try to understand, like, if you're going to do events, who is it for? Like, what's really our community? And I told you, like, when it comes to talent, there's two types of people: the ones who care about careers, the ones who are just thinking about job search. When it comes to companies, we had to do segmentation as well there. And so we had to really define very well, like in terms of strategy, what are the segments we want to tackle, and then like which kind of contents we will provide them in terms of events. Because besides events, there's a lot of other things that I could talk about, but that's not the point today. And to the point that you start growing the community and you want to nurture them. And then, again, this phrase keeps popping up because I really like it. You do this, you define very well this, so that you can create the contents in a global way, and then you can feed it into your community, expecting that they will come back and love you. I think if it was not Danielle, it was the presentation before. You want to make them love you, not in the selling phase, but after that, you want to make everybody love you, knowing it's not possible to achieve 100% love. It's weird, but it's true. Still, keeping this in mind, you have, and these interventions or like events and these sort of things, like if you think of events as interventions, these events can be modular and replicable. Example, we went to Berlin and we thought about the market in Berlin, the two types of people in terms of talent and the companies we had there, and we had to adapt the event that we used to do in Lisbon, that we adapted to the Portuguese market. And we had to adapt this event to the German market. So we took some models of the event in Lisbon, we applied the same models to Berlin, knowing that we already